So, how were the Ukrainians able to hit the landing ship Minsk and the sub Rostov on Don in Sevastopol? I want to talk about that. Last night, I was thinking I was going to be talking about Kim Jong Un visiting Vladimir Putin, and I may still do that. Or maybe I would talk about Elon Musk and his terrible interaction with what was going on with Crimea shutting down the internet, Starlink. But it turns out that the Ukraine missile launch on Sevastopol became the big story, and I'm going to talk through all of that. I have to give credit where credit's due. I'm going to start with a BBC clip, and then I'm going to go to the Enforcer, ATP Geo, Military Summary, Secamimus. I'm going to start here, but I got to give the Enforcer another shout out. This is the third time they were the first person to report on a major issue like this. So good on you, Enforcer. I'm amazed. One was the Crimean Bridge, and I did that then as well. I'm just gonna like with the Crimean Bridge, they were the only ones reporting about it when nobody else, not even regular media, was reporting about it, and there was only scanty evidence on Twitter. So we're gonna let the BBC set the table, and here we go.
Or two, we have this statement from the Defense Ministry in Moscow admitting that there seems to have been quite a substantial attack involving both missiles of some description and also maritime drones, and that some of those missiles got through. There are a lot of images on social media, which we at the BBC have not yet had a chance to verify, but are being widely disseminated, which appear to show explosions over Sevastopol in the nighttime hours, huge fires raging, apparently in an area of the port where repairs were being conducted, a dry dock where at least a couple of Russian vessels were being repaired. What we don't know is the
Okay, stop there for a second. So first, they're going to verify everything that was here. That's why we try to lean on hard news when we can. Second, that was a picture of the aftermath. And you'll see a little bit of, in the other videos, you'll see some of like what was happening, flames and that kind of thing. You're not going to see explosions. This is for YouTube censors, but you will see what has happened.
Extent of the damage, and particularly whether that damage extends to the vessels that were thought to be in dry dock. And those include a large Russian amphibious landing ship and also a submarine. I think even though we don't know the exact extent of this attack, I think it's fair to say that this is one of the bolder Ukrainian attacks on the heart, the home of the Black Sea Fleet. And it's part of an ongoing effort by the Ukrainians to attack the Black Sea Fleet and reduce its ability to operate in those crucial waters in the northern Black Sea.
You know, like crowded out, there was an attack on Moscow, a drone attack on Moscow as well. So it's really disconcerting to the Russians that, wow, they've been able to hit Moscow, and they're not supposed to be able to hit the Black Sea Fleet or Sevastopol because this is supposed to be heavily defended. So it's quite a poke in the eye to see this happen. Okay, so here's the Enforcer, and here was their original coverage when they first stumbled upon this yesterday, last evening.
And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and that was our last poll for now. But before we move on to our questions, I've seen some folks pointing out that they heard some news that apparently the Sevastopol shipyard was attacked by Ukraine. And it was attacked, and it apparently just happened a short while ago. The news that we have on it is on our Twitter page. And for sure, if you want to go check that out, it's reposted on our main page. And we do have a photo and video evidence of that attack. It looks like it was a pretty good attack, a pretty big one.
A pretty good one? A pretty solid one, you say? Oh, it was.
That was solid, you know, no cap.
So this is some breaking news right here. Apparently, the port of Sevastopol has just been attacked nearly an hour ago, and video footage is coming out that there is a significant fire happening at the shipyard. Here's one clip. We can see that the Russian fire brigade is already responding. We can see the crane of one of the docks, and we can see some kind of a fire burning from a structure of some sort.
Okay, so where is this? This is the port of Sevastopol. Sevastopol is down here in Crimea. Here's Odessa and the rest of Ukraine up here, right? And so, like they've been able to hit the Kerch, but that's going very wide berth around Sevastopol because this is supposed to be heavily protected. This is the home of the Black Sea Fleet. All right, a little bit from Twitter. We're getting to see some pictures about what was going on here. Noel reports or other places on Twitter where you get to see just how damaging this was. Let's go and look at ATP geopolitics for a moment.
Give you the details that we know so far. So this is in Crimea. It's a main naval port for the Russians for their Black Sea fleet. No reports said in occupied Sevastopol there are explosions overnight. It is reported that Ukraine attacked a dry dock used for ship repairs in the southern bay and reportedly damaged at least one Project 775 large landing ship. They also damaged a Rostov-on-Don Kilo class submarine. So here is some of the imagery coming out of Sevastopol. You can see some fairly significant fires taking place, a big explosion, and there we go.
Okay, so I mean, everybody's consistent in their reporting about what it is. These two vessels, particularly the landing ship and the submarine. Okay, here is military summary. These guys are pro-Russian, and let's hear what they have to say.
Rounds. Another interesting update is coming from Crimea. This night, the Western countries, the Ukraine to be more precise, this territory attacked Crimea with around 10 missiles. The Russian sources started first saying that those missiles was like a Western production or something like this, but later we got details, and according to information we have, the Ukrainians were using around 10 missiles for these purposes, and they were using S-200 missiles that were rebuilt for the purposes land-to-land attacks or something like this. And
okay, so that's really interesting. They're using S-200s, not Western-made missiles, and to the degree that they are able to produce or repurpose their own missiles, they can hit wherever they want. Now, they could have hit in Crimea anyway, because that's within the rules of the game, but still, that's another interesting piece of that puzzle. Okay, next. This is RT. 24 people injured in Ukrainian missile attack in Sevastopol, says the governor. Ukrainian forces have targeted port infrastructure in the Crimean city of Sevastopol, according to Mikhail, whatever his name is, the governor of the strategic city, which hosts a Black Sea fleet. They're not targeting infrastructure. They're targeting ships. Approximately 20 minutes ago, our enemies attacked Sevastopol. Now, that's pretty quick reporting for something like RT. At least 24 people were injured and 4 in a serious condition. There is no immediate information about the extent of the damage, and we're unveiling some of that now. Air defenses shot down 7 of the incoming projectiles, but 3 made it through. Okay. So that 3 made it through is really interesting, and we'll talk about why in just a moment. Before we do, here's Suchomimus, and Suchomimus is going to be revealing a little bit more.
Number one hit in Ukraine strike was Vagornik again. However, Russia has since confirmed that the Rapua-class ship hit last night was in fact the Minsk. So the mystery about Vagornik's location still continues.
That ship that he was just talking about was the one hit a month or two ago, and we didn't know it was supposed to be towed somewhere. We didn't know if they scuttled it or what they did with it. That's what he was talking about. But they have confirmed that they hit the Minsk, the landing ship.
The Kilo submarine that was hit has been confirmed to be the Rostov-on-Don. We don't have a photo or video of that and the extent of the damage yet, but Russia says it was damaged in the attack. Here's a photo of the Rostov. So, a pretty new submarine which was commissioned in December 2014. Here, a satellite image from yesterday showing both the Rapua-class ship, the Minsk, and the Kilo Rostov-on-Don at the dry dock, so we know they were there. Now, let's have a look at Russia's claim. Surprisingly, they have admitted that 2 ships were damaged, so this confirms the Rapua and the Kilo were hit. I'm surprised we didn't spin the usual yarn about no damage caused. Although, given the photo we have of the Rapua, I think damaged is a bit of an understatement. I would say its goose is cooked. Russia also says the strike consisted of 10 missiles and unmanned boats, with many of the missiles shot down. Now, reading behind the lines, I think what we're looking at here is either absolute twaddle, and Russia pulled that 10 missile number out of their hindquarters, or Russian air defences once again fell for mauled decoy missiles.
Did
These
you hear that?
missiles
So do you hear that? Decoy missiles. So the first missiles were just decoys, absorbing the air defense, and then the last few got through.
drew the Samfire and allowed the other missiles, which I'd guess would be Storm Shadow, Neptune, or Grim 2, to get through and hit the target. So Russia may have hit missiles, but it's very likely they were actually mould decoys. We do know that Ukraine uses a mould alongside the Storm Shadow and other missiles in order to provide the decoys. So that is possible. This
Okay, so now that's very informative that they would use decoys and then some can get through. And this line by General Hodges, it's almost like the Ukrainian planned it that way. SOF raid to destroy the radar and then sophisticated strike on Sevastopol. This counteroffensive is much more than a ground assault. It's a multi-domain operation. I've been saying that. Remember, I talked about this in this video about how it's like their third strategy. It's not just a counteroffensive on the front line. It's not just withdrawing and hitting things behind the targets. It's hitting the Kerch. It's hitting Moscow. It's now hitting Sevastopol. Okay. This is military summary. A little bit more from military summary.
Western countries, by this attack during the meeting between Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un, tried to tell the Russians that if you are going to sign agreement with the North Koreans, we're going to provide Ukrainians everything they need, and not just like nuclear depleted rounds or some uranium depleted rounds or something like this. They're going to provide Ukrainians also long-range missiles. And
okay, so if you heard what he said, he was talking about this happened, and I had an aha moment, and that is that this was happening while Kim was meeting from North Korea was meeting with Putin. And I went, oh, that's what Putin does all the time. Whenever Zelensky's out at an important meeting with the EU or NATO or visiting the US or whatever it is he's doing, they just rain fire down on Kyiv or some major city or a market, or they do something terribly destructive. I don't know that it's the West that's sending the message, but it's certainly interesting timing. Okay, last little bit. I've got to, just give them props for being so creative and clever. Like, if it was decoys that got through, just think about that. That's to wear down the air defense so that some can get through. They just took out 2 Russian ships. Yesterday, I was talking about how the Ukrainian flag flew in the sky over Donetsk and launched by Ukrainian defenders. And then the Russians opened fire on it, revealing their positions, and they could be targeted because they revealed where their firing positions were. So freaking smart. Last thing I want to talk about is that some of you, last time I talked about the Enforcer was the first one, and I gave him credit because credit's due, right? They said, well, you got to watch out for the Enforcer. He and the Enforcer and Mercado Media have been in this argument and lawsuit and whatever. So, okay. Apparently, the beef is over. We deliver Enforcer official drone to Ukraine, and here's a little bit about that. I don't really get involved in that kind of thing, but here's Mercado, I mispronounced that, Media.
We have a very special third drone from the Enforcer YouTube channel. As you guys know, the Enforcer YouTube channel raised money for a drone. They explained that it got lost at DHL, the truck, and the way that the wheels were set up, or the way that the manager had put the drone in there, it got lost. I called DHL and they said, I don't know anything about that. Who are you? Hang up the phone. So I hung up the phone, and anyways, my Orc Hunter community, out of the kindness of their heart, took care of the third drone for the Enforcer YouTube channel. Also, they have dropped the lawsuit completely. The $100,000 that each of them were asking for on the lawsuit for calling out their fake information, YouTube titles, rhetoric, that type of stuff. But I want to give credit to the 2 boys for coming together for Ukraine, and we made a deal where they dropped the lawsuit completely and we take care of their drone for them. So here it is. Shout out to the Enforcer community and the Orc Hunter community, dropping all the beef for Ukraine. Third drone, here it is.
Okay, so I don't know what the beef was exactly. I don't really follow that. I know that they were conflicting, but look, I don't, as long as you're pro-Ukraine, it doesn't matter who you are. Like, we can learn from you, we can grow together, we can help the cause, even if you're a Republican like me, okay? That's all that I have to say today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, the coffees, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.